G'day listeners and welcome back to another episode of the Keeper League podcast. We're the AFL fantasy podcast that doesn't talk about the superstars. We only talk about the lesser knowns and the players who bring value to your draft and Keeper League teams. My name's Hef and this week joining me on the show is Louis from the Pod. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. Good to be here. Haven't been on in a minute.
I feel like we've been trying to catch up for like a beer. I was said on the podcast the other day, I received a text message from you at 7:30 in the morning, I think, just saying beer, ? And I wasn't sure if you meant at that very moment or just sometime soon, but yeah.
It sounds like me.
Already thinking about it before work's even begun on a Friday. Or you've just started work, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I like to shoot them out early, see what I can drum up. But yeah, we will have to catch up for that beer, I think.
Yeah,
but,
we're overdue.
Pretty hectic. Everyone's sort of just after the Australia Day weekend, I think everybody sort of finally wakes up a bit. They're out of holiday mode. And
yeah, definitely.
It just causes a lot of busyness in the schedule. So,
although this time of the year in Adelaide with the Fringe Festival and all that sort of stuff, I feel like I've got something on every weekend up until basically Gather Round.
Yes.
And then I feel like Gather Round is when Adelaide kind of dies and you can go back to your life type thing.
Yeah, it's all coming to Gather Round, I think. That's where the peak's going to be, and then it'll drop off.
I think you're right.
I'm actually looking forward to it.
Yeah, same actually.
Time.
Yeah, but same actually. But yeah. Anyways, we'll get stuck into the show. This week we're going to be talking, we'll do a little bit of a recap on the State of Origin. Nothing too much major to talk about there. It was a bit of an exhibition game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah.
It was unfortunate that some of the injuries sort of happened. I knew that was going to be inevitable, but...
They happen in pre-season games, in practice matches and all that sort of stuff too. So, they're pretty hard to get by. But yeah, we'll get stuck into that in more detail in a second. The other thing we're just going to go through is club by club and just look at all the kind of news, the intel, the position changes, the injuries, the opportunities, all that sort of stuff. It's almost like a in case you've missed it type episode with all the kind of Keeper League relevant stuff. There's, I think the Traders and DT Talk boys do a good job at doing all the classic relevant players, but I don't think there's much of the Keeper League relevant one. So we'll go through that and talk about that as well. But before we begin, we'll give the Keeper Fantasy plug. And as you all know by now, Keeper Fantasy is back for 2026 and it's packed with more great features for the serious draft leagues out there. People are already drafting. I think there's been over 100 Keeper League drafts done already. So the ADP is starting to look pretty nice, but there's new features, priority picks, pick trading, live chat in your draft room that lets you get stuck into your mates when they slip up or pick someone bad. But I think the most exciting thing, the thing I'm most excited for, is their new position-based scoring mode. You can now kind of award different points per lineup position, meaning you could set forwards to only score points by goals, or midfields can only score by getting disposals, and rucks can only score by getting hitouts. And when you think of it that way, if you think about midfielder gets 30 disposals, a ruck generally gets around 30 or so hitouts, you know what I mean? And then you could do 6 point for goals and stuff like that. So if a forward kicks 5 goals, they'll get 30 points or whatever. It kind of adds up pretty nicely to a way for scoring. Have you looked into the system?
I haven't. No, I haven't yet. I've sort of just followed the classic fantasy sort of scoring so far, but I do like the flexibility. I think really rewards people that are open to wanting to get more value or less value out of certain types of players.
Yeah, I actually came up this week, tried to find a way to make kind of every type of player as valuable as one another. So, for example, the best small forward to be as good a scorer as the best key forward in the league, as good a scorer as the best midfielder in the league, that kind of thing, and so on. And I got pretty close, I reckon, to becoming so you could Bont, obviously the best midfielder, that kind of thing, but then you could pick someone like Jamie Elliott, who's probably the best small forward type thing and who score pretty similarly just based on the different stats that they score on.
That would make for a really interesting draft.
Yeah, I'm thinking of actually trying to get it up and running, but I'm still trying to perfect the scoring system. Maybe I'm obsessing over a bit too much. Maybe I should just start it and tweak it as we go. But anyway, the Keeper platform's back. Go check out that new scoring format. It's awesome fun. Just a quick update on our website. All the premium resources are now available. So now it's kind of getting into tweaking the ranks and that sort of stuff, which I'll do after the match sims this week. I think Saturday they finish up, and then so Sunday, Monday next week I'll do some tweaking for the ranks, and then the following week after the community series, is it the Amy community series, the JLT, the Marsh? I can't remember what it is this year these days. Pretty sure it's Amy these days. But after the community series, I'll do a bit of an update there. We've got our Keeper League draft next weekend, my first one anyway. How are your leagues going? You started yet?
Good. I'm in a draft right now, actually, the Wardlaws and Sinbags. So I'd pick one this year. I took Zeke Uland.
Yep, Uland.
And then I was in the first round again at 5, and I took Jacob Farrow. So I was pretty
good
happy
start.
with that.
Yeah, you and Farrow. That's two of the best players in the draft, I reckon, for fantasy.
I'm hoping so, but a bit of a dry spot now. I'm sort of waiting for my pick at 31. So we'll see what's left on the draft board. Hopefully I can pick up another.
Oh, hopefully. Anyways, let's get stuck into the show. State of Origin. So probably the key takeaways. I was looking at this more stuff, trying to not really pick out individual players, trying to look at more how the game is looking with the rule changes and stuff like that. What did you make of it? I kind of noticed there was less stoppages. Both teams played dual ruck, so it got really hard to gauge what the goal was there. What was your takeaway?
Oh, it was very fast-paced. I mean, obviously the best players in the game, they were hitting targets every time. It wasn't a game that I was able to read too much into. I think once we sort of see the actual AFL, it's going to be a little bit different. So, yeah, I don't want to put too much weighting on it. There were less stoppages, but, there was better skills sort of on display. So I think that's sort of, a bit of a...
And also, how much were they like going in there for those hard tackles, causing those ball ups, that sort of stuff? I don't know if there was that many players like going that hard. I know that Wiedering did get injured and that was unfortunate, and a few other players did hamstrings and fingers and stuff like that. But I don't know how much players were actually going at it. So we might see less stoppages. I did notice it did feel like when you're watching it, it's like, oh, geez, we haven't had a ball up in a while, or we haven't had a throw in a while. And that does make me a little bit concerned about the rucks, but I'm more concerned for the rucks that have shared responsibility more so than the rucks that are on their own. Because I still saw situations where Cherry was able to kind of do his natural game from the boundary throw-ins when they did occur. And I think players like Gawn and stuff are probably going to be unaffected when they play by themselves. So the ruck scoring was low. I think Darcy Cameron was the highest with a 79. But I'm not too concerned about it just yet. But the thing, I probably am concerned, but I'm not ready. It's not panic stations yet. You know what I mean? Got to see it in the real world.
The time on ground was pretty much in the toilet for all of them. I think definitely a bit of a flag with the dual rucks, but also, you've got a couple of the best key forwards in the game on either team. So the second ruck isn't exactly resting forward. He's just going to the bench for a rest. So I think that'll adjust a little bit in season, but it's definitely worth flagging for sure. Just
a few scores I'd highlight. Tom Stewart had a 79. There's a lot of people, I don't know if the classic space, I haven't really focused on classic at all this season, but he's someone who's not really valued anymore. And I still think he's probably got something left to give for one last season. And he's the type of player that might get dropped back to a draft pool or something like that if you're in a shallower keeper league. But I still think he's got something left to give, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. If he goes on, like a 6 to 8 week stretch of going at 100, that wouldn't surprise me at all. He's an absolute superstar. I think he's 5-6 time All-Australian.
Yeah.
So he's got the tickets, and he's in a team that doesn't mind just rewarding good form. They're not too phased about age at Geelong, so I think he'll still get that opportunity, and he'll be able to continue scoring.
I think it's more he just needs to stay fit than anything. That's the issue with him.
He's had a few unlucky injuries, though, hasn't he?
Yeah.
It's nothing that's...
And subbed out
repeatable,
awful
really.
times. Yeah, exactly. For the WA side of things, there's probably more fantasy relevant or keeper league relevant players for WA. Like Jesse Hogan, a lot of people were writing off. To kick 5 goals against, the best of the best and come out with 100 points. I know Wiedering did go down, so there were a key defender down. But a lot of people, I think, were thinking of dropping him, that after seeing last night, they might, think twice, don't you think?
Yeah, I love Jesse Hogan. I think he's got one of the best ceilings in the game, to be honest, when he's on.
Yeah.
Great hands and a really accurate kick at goal. So as a forward, I think he's, an absolute premium as a bit of a cheapie.
Yeah, well, yeah, because they're so hard to come by, and someone that can kick bags, he's a Coleman medalist, all that sort of stuff. And then we saw a good sign last year, and I think again probably more of an injury interrupted year. A few different bits and pieces going on as well. I think he's probably got something left to give for the coaches that are brave enough to keep him or to pick him up earlier on in a draft. Lawson Humphries is just a player that kind of continues to impress me as well. Scored the 85 points on Saturday night. But yeah, just to be included, I think, in this team is a very good sign for a player like him. But the halfback role is quite nice for his fantasy build. But did you see later on in the game where he just burnt off Dacos and that sort of stuff? He's got a bit of toe about him. He could be a genuine line breaker, get the ball in his hands. I don't know. He's a player I've just got a bit of faith in.
Yep. No, I agree.
He's just got so much potential. Yeah, and I think he's going around the 100 mark in most keeper leagues as well, which I think is about right.
Yeah.
Brad Hill had 99 points, but I'm not touching him in a keeper league. Apart from that though, I can't really take much out of it. Can you?
No, I'm not reading too much into it. It was a nice spectacle to watch. But apart from that, it was just good to have a little bit of football back, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Good night on the couch with the sun, just watching it and getting around some footy again. Can't wait for the actual proper stuff to start in a few weeks. Anyways, let's get into this kind of, in case you missed it, club news. And we'll start off with the Adelaide Crows. So, if in case you missed this one, Dan Curtin, he's injured. What's he done to himself? He's done
a PCL, a knee?
Knee, I think. Everyone was expecting it to be ACL, but thankfully it's not. But he's still going to miss a few months of football, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't think we'll see him until the mid-season bye, really. So, lucky he's escaped that ACL, but it's a bit unfortunate. He had a really good pre-season by all reports, and I think he was going to take that step up into the midfield. So
yeah, that was what I was thinking as well. But it probably drops him back in the ranks a little bit now. Sid Draper is the other one. He has done his groin again. Is that right?
Yeah, this is concerning.
Yeah.
I don't like groins at that young age, to be honest. He's sort of been repeating that since like sort of 17, 18. He's always been quite injury prone.
Yeah.
He's highly rated.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd just start to worry a little bit, I think.
I always have this thing with Crows in their first round draft picks. They seem to be cursed a little bit. I know Curtin was all right. There's been all right so far, but again, injured this year. But, Fisher Maxey, wasn't Chase Jones a first rounder?
Yes.
Didn't they delist one as well?
Perry was a first rounder.
Yeah. I think they delisted another one a couple of years ago that was a first rounder. That was quite good as well. Like, something about it that just makes me worry a little bit, that's all. But, that's probably more coincidence than it is to do with anything, to do with fact anyway. I guess the big thing on the back of these two injuries of Dan Kerper and Sid Draper is the Josh Rochelle more midfield minutes.
First round pick.
It's taken a while to come on, hasn't he? Yeah. But it's starting to look a bit more real, I think, this more midfield time. Do you think it's a timeshare, like a mid-forward kind of split with maybe a ranking? They don't play in the midfield at the same time? Or do you reckon it's like a...
Yeah. Right, because they're just so effective in both positions of the game, and having them in tandem is such an advantage for the Crows. I'd be surprised if those two aren't going to be rotating on ball and up forward and doing some real damage.
Yeah, the only saving grace, I guess, maybe is bringing Archie into the side, which means they can play both of them in the midfield a bit more. But I still think they're taking too much away from your attacking flair because Crows can be a little bit overly tall, I think, at times. And I don't know what the go with Tex is. I got slammed on Facebook by all the boomers that I didn't have Tex in my best 23.
That would do it.
And then the next week he comes out saying I'm probably going to play a fair bit of SNFL this year, so I don't really know what the go is there. But yeah, I think you will see a scoring bump for Josh Rochelle. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets to the high 70s, kind of low 80s marks this year, and kind of finally has a breakout in a sense in the fantasy world, I think.
Yep.
Another interesting thing is Lachlan McAndrew. There's been a lot of chat about him over the preseason. Seems to be tallying up Rob in all the intra-club and internal trials and all that sort of stuff, practice stuff, purely because he suits the rules a little bit more. Rob can't really jump, and that means he can't really engage before that jump and all that sort of stuff. You know what I didn't realise? I thought the no engaging was for every ruck contest, but it's only the centre bounce ones. Yeah. So it might not actually affect too many as much, but whatever the case is, Lachlan McAndrew was actually the number one ruck. He was in the A team for their intra-club, where Rob was kind of demoted to the B team. So I don't know. Are you concerned for the Rob owners out there?
It probably would be a little bit. I didn't realise Lachlan McAndrew was as young as what he is, 25 years old. So
that's like just rucks, breakout time for rucks. Yeah,
that's right.
Cherry only came on around then.
So. Yeah, I would be concerned if I was a Rob owner. The rules do suit this McAndrew fellow. He's really tall. I know that's obvious, but I think he's pushing about 205, 206.
And he can jump, can't he?
A little bit on top of Rob. Yeah, he can jump.
Yeah.
All over him in the internal trial too. So yeah, there may be a little bit of competition there for spots. So that's going to improve them both, as it most often does. I would be surprised if Rob's playing a full season in the Sandful, but
that wouldn't. I don't know if that's going to happen. But yeah,
he's a nice little stash option, that McAndrew. I think you could get him pretty cheap.
I think a few people that have Rob probably have him on the list as the handcuff anyway, so you might just want to keep him, or if you can, he's probably. We play a rookie rule where you can keep under 50, and he probably slides into that kind of zone as well. There's a few players for the Crows as well that have been training in halfback roles. Now, first one's Luke Nankervis. A lot of Crows supporters out there are telling me that Nank will overtake Laird this season at some stage. Maybe not initially, but they reckon he's the one who's kind of the next one that could be that halfback kind of guy. I look at his distribution and maybe think of his kicking skills and efficiency. Probably, maybe not. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on someone like Luke Nankervis?
Yeah, I could see it. Fresh legs in there. I don't think Laird shoots the lights out either in terms of his disposal and what he does for that team. So if they want to take a little bit more of a youthful approach, I can really see him coming up over the top of Laird.
The other one is Braden Cook. He's also been training in defence as well. So a few new roles there, a few new guys to kind of look at. Maybe these guys are picked up later in your drafts, but worth a bit of a stash or worth a bit of a late flyer because the roles are looking good for fantasy if they can actually get into the senior team. Let's move on to the Brisbane Lions. Now, I think everyone knows about the Lachie Neale drama. My thoughts are just that it might, in case you've missed it, I guess, there's been a lot of drama with Lachie Neale. I think it just might open up some midfield opportunity that we probably once thought. Like, you look at Brisbane's midfield and you go, that thing is stacked. But, like, I could see things like Lachie Neale maybe needing a bit of a break or to go visit the kids back in Perth. I think that's where they are now in the mid-season, which might open like an Arnable spot or, maybe gives Leo Ashcroft or someone a bit more extra time in the midfield. So that's probably just one thing to monitor or one thing to think about down the track. In terms of the ruck situation, Sam Draper has the foot injury. Do you know the extent of that? I think I read it was like he'll be expected back round 1 or 2. Is that correct?
Yes, yep.
Yeah, so I don't know. Would you be concerned if you were planning on going into the season, say you got Sam Draper on your list and you're going to keep him, would you be concerned going into the season with him as your number one ruck?
Oh, look, I think you got to back him in at this point, don't you? They've gone and recruited him to be their number one ruck. He's still quite young as well, and he's joining a premiership team, which really conducive of fantasy points. So, yeah, I would understand the nervousness, but I think at this point you'd back him in, and he'll be back. He misses round 0, misses round 1. They've got the bye round 2, so he's in the scheme of things. He's not missing a lot of football.
There's a lot of eyes on Darcy Fort. He's really highly rated internally as well. So, I think Fort maybe just be a good. I don't think he's going to go very early in drafts, that's for sure. He's definitely when you're kind of getting to your bench and reserve type of options. But, I reckon he could score a bit better than that this season, especially if someone like Draper is hampered by injury like he usually is. That's a bet I'd be willing to take, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Oscar O vibes.
Yeah, definitely. The other one is Kitty Coleman is fit. But my question is my initial question was how does that affect the kind of backline squeeze if you've got Coleman, Zorko, Fletcher, Wilmot, all those guys vying for positions. But news out of the last week's intra-club that Coleman was playing like a wing half-forward role, which is very similar to the role Archie was playing before he left Brisbane as well. So what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, that's interesting when you compare that to Archie missing.
Yeah.
I did see a quote really early in the preseason that Kitty Coleman would spend a bit of time forward, and I sort of just brushed it off as one of those throwaway comments. But when you do look at that lineup of Zorko, Fletcher and Wilmot, it's been super effective for 2 years. Obviously, they've won the last 2 flags. Why change a good thing? I don't think Zorko's going to shift. I think, he's set in that role until he sort of hangs up the boots or his form drops off. So, yeah, Kitty Coleman coming in as a half forward, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that's how he was drafted as well. I think he might have been more of a forward type.
Yeah, I'm starting to fade him just a little bit on the back of that. A lot of people are pretty high on him, but I reckon out of the role, certainly, like you said, those guys winning grand finals already playing those roles. You're probably better off trying to fit him in somewhere else. So you're not affecting the structure too much, I think. So maybe Coleman is the one that suffers out of those. The other thing with Daniel Arnable, he had a shoulder injury scare a few weeks ago, but is okay by all reports. Looks likely to debut early. And he's getting a few midfield minutes in the preseason, so that might tie in with the Lachie Neale stuff we said earlier and provide some opportunities for them. With Carlton, Jagger Smith looks like he's ready to go. Looks like he's going to play through the midfield this season. A lot of people have you heard any whispers about other roles? Some people saying half-back and things like that, but it looks like he's going to play in the midfield, right?
Oh, I wouldn't complain about half-back time, neither. But no, he was drafted as the best sort of pure mid last year. Yeah. Unfortunately, did an ACL right before round 1. He's going to go straight into that Carlton midfield. I think they're probably lacking a little bit of depth there anyway. Maybe we see him rotate a bit with Sam Walsh on the outside if there's going to be a bit of a dual role.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way to look at it. But because he's a player I could see playing on the outside as well, but I don't think he's going to get like a cushy halfback role or anything like that, like some people were suggesting. Mark Pitnett had that larynx injury, just to kind of highlight the injury. I think he's going to be right for round 1, but you'd expect him to ruck in tandem with Reedy, which is going to be pretty poor for their fantasy scoring, I would have thought. Elijah Hollands is the other one. He still hasn't actually been signed as an SSP, and they've extended the deadline, so we're not going to know. So I feel for like a lot of coaches out there that are drafting now that could have kept him, have already had to drop him out of their keepers. I don't know, like maybe you want to talk with your commish, or maybe make a rule about if you owned him, you can drop one of your keepers and pick him back up or something like that. Keeper, the fantasy app, thankfully allows you to edit your teams like that, so maybe that's something you want to think about.
Was he on a list this year though?
He was on a list last year. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Right,
and then he was delisted, but now he's training on as an SSP.
Right.
So, yeah, a few people are a bit up in arms about what to do with him, whether they can keep him or not, because he's actually not in the game at the moment, so he's not on anyone's list. But, if you had him and he's back, does that... Yeah, it's a bit tricky.
Maybe a bit of an LTI sort of thing you could rig up for that.
Yeah, but you don't want people getting extra keepers on the back of it as well. So, yeah, that's the other thing. I don't have a lot for Collingwood. Not a lot of news coming out of Collingwood this pre-season. So, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. But,
a lot of injuries.
Yeah, there's been a few.
Howe's popped a calf, Moore's popped a calf.
But not a lot of them are really fantasy relevant, like it's nothing. There's not a lot of news coming out of Collingwood at the moment, so we might just kind of...
Dacos FC.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's the way it kind of goes. I'm just trying to think of what else comes out of there. But yeah, like I said, apart
Perryman, potentially.
And the midfield. Yeah, well, that's probably the one that they're talking about. But yeah, like I said, there's not a lot coming out, so we might just kind of skip past Collingwood for this one.
Key forward, Jack Buller.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be keeper league relevant though, So, and like I said, there hasn't really been that much news. It looks like he'll play. But apart from that, yeah. On to Essendon. So they're talking up, a lot of the senior players are talking up Jacob Farrow at the moment. Out of all the draftees, he was probably when I started following the draft closely, like Dyson Sharp, Sullivan Roby were the kind of big names, but Farrow was kind of like, you looked at his numbers and he looked like he played the best fantasy game, but sometimes that doesn't always translate to being a good AFL player from the junior level. But watching some of his highlights, the kid looks absolute class. I think out of the three, I think he could be the best fantasy player out of those three that they drafted at the top end.
Yeah, I think so. I really liked his highlights. Obviously, drafting him myself, I was watching him pretty closely. Definitely see the comparisons to a Hayden Young, a Jordan Dawson as well. If he can make that jump up into the midfield, I think he'll sort of cut his teeth in that half back line for a little bit, which is good at Essendon. They're really quite high fantasy scoring side back there. So. Definitely one to track, but I'm really liking the look of the kid. Yeah,
absolutely. Dyson Sharp is getting drafted out of the first out of the draftees in a lot of keeper league drafts, but saw recently he was training with the Bees midfield, so might not be a lock in that midfield. When you think about it, the midfield's deep at Essendon,
Yeah, it is. I like Dyson Sharp. I do question a little bit if he was bit of a man-child. he was massive in his draft
year. We were talking about that last week, and then it's my new theory that we were chatting about in the Discord. It doesn't always come up, but quite often the man-child doesn't translate to being the best AFL fantasy player. You get this, I know Kays used to harp on it back in the day. He's got real man experience, which means he's, already ready to go at AFL. This is going to be easy for him to make the transition. But sometimes they lean on that, I think, a bit too much as a junior. And when all the other juniors get to the same size, you're like, oh, holy fuck, I'm slower than that guy, or I can't kick as well as that guy, and you start to lose it a little bit.
Yeah, you see it a lot with key forwards and key defenders especially, where, if you're 200 centimetres at 16, 17 years old, your teammates haven't really caught up to that, so you can take advantage and dominate a bit, and sometimes, just excel a bit more than what you would, but when, you come back to the pack a bit, maybe you get exposed a little bit.
Yeah, that's my only concern with him, and I base it on nothing but past trends. You know what I mean? It's nothing on the individual.
Same. I mean, he looks like a star, but
exactly.
Sometimes I just question those sorts of things. He's going very, very high in keepers.
The thing is, when you do look at these trends, a lot of people always say the thing he could go, key forward, but he's tall, so he goes in the ruck and could get an extra point, a few points like that. I'm always name one guy that's ever worked for. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then the same deal with this. It's look at all the man-childs that kind of come through. If you look at your Will Goulds, we talked about last week, and all that sort of stuff. Even I know.
Good.
Yeah, like he was the man. He was like playing with seniors. I remember the 2013 grand final. He was like an absolute star.
Yes, yeah,
for Glenelg.
I remember that.
And then like just did nothing at AFL level. Like, but he was a similar type thing. And there's been a few over the years. Like the other one, Dylan Stevens, was playing with the seniors. You know, and everyone's like, well, he's already playing with the seniors. He's going to be a gunner at AFL level. And he's done nothing. Like. Yeah. There's quite a few. But then you get people like Connor Rosie, who was playing seniors. Yeah. Jason Horn-Francis was playing seniors.
Horn-Francis.
Yeah, so there are a few that buck the trends. So, yeah, can't really take too much into it. Sullivan Roby has had a few back complaints through the preseason, so I'm not sure if he starts round one.
It doesn't sound like it.
Yeah,
no.
so
he's still jogging.
Yeah, so he might be a whiles away, but it doesn't really matter for keeper leagues. It's just I think he's probably a quality over quantity type anyway.
Player,
yeah. Archie Roberts was apparently getting some CBAs in a match sim. There, I'm not that midfield's too deep, so I'm not really reading into that. But
yeah, and Merritt wasn't there. He was over in Perth for the State of Origin game.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
He might just be plugging that hole. We know Merritt also spent a bit of time at halfback last season too. Maybe there's a bit of a rotation, but yeah, I'm expecting Roberts to be in that halfback line. He was a star there last 100%. Year, and you may as well keep tapping into that as best you can.
I agree. Few concerns for Jai Caldwell. He hasn't been training recently. He's been jogging laps. I think there's a knee issue or something like that. Do you worry he'll just never get the body right?
Yeah.
It's been so many seasons.
There's plenty of examples of players that just have heaps of talent, but the body just lets them down consistently.
Yeah. I hope he ends up being like, LDU took ages before he started getting the consistency. Maybe just needs to build up the body mass and the size and the muscles and all that sort of stuff to kind of keep going.
He's looking pretty good.
Yeah, hopefully that's the case. Another thing at Essendon, Lachie Blackiston is likely to be the number one ruck. A lot of classic hype because it means you've got a defender that you can chuck on your bench. You could score okay, but for your keeper leagues, you just bide in time until Brian returns, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't be that keen in a keeper league. He's classic relevant because he's going to plug a hole at a cheap price for 3-4 weeks. But he's warming Brian's spot, and as soon as Brian's ready to go, he might play a VFL game, but he'll come straight into that senior side. And then it will be sort of a combination of him and probably a Peter Wright.
Yeah, I can see Blackiston doing some ruck duties, but like I said, if you're playing key position and ruck, it's a terrible combo for fantasy scoring. Never really turns out that well. The other one is McGrath's been playing as a defender all preseason. I think a lot of people were expecting everyone sees the last 5 average and they go, oh, holy shit, he's going to be back next season. But people often forget that that's because all their midfielders were injured and he was playing in their midfield. If they're not injured, then he's not going to be playing in the midfield. So he goes back to being probably a 75 to 80 halfback flanker.
I think he's going to be a bit of a Mr. Fix-It.
Yeah, maybe. I think with Farrow coming back there, that scares me the most for him because it looks like they want to develop him to be and Roberts as well. They want those guys to be the halfbackers of the future. He could just be like a dirty back pocket and just shut down players and things like that as well.
I bet he'd play that role really well as well.
Yeah, 100%. Because he's got that bit of mongrel about him, and he's like a bit well built, can play in the midfield, so he could play as like that. Yeah, stopper in defence as well for the small forwards. And then Darcy Parish apparently hasn't missed a beat. I'd be pretty optimistic if I was a Parish owner, wouldn't you?
Yeah, so I actually traded him in my keeper league.
Got rid of him?
Yes.
Yeah, right, fair enough.
Yep, I traded him in for some youth.
Did you get a good price?
What did I get? Xavier Lindsay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Toby Travalia.
I'll take that. Yeah,
I was pretty happy with that in my list spot. But yeah, I think Darcy Parish, he went overseas, he got his body right. He's had a flawless preseason, which is probably something that's been few and far between for him. So if he can keep that consistency up, we know what he's capable of. He's 100 plus scoring midfielder.
Yeah, absolutely.
When he's in form, certainly. So, yeah, I'd be quite bullish on a Darcy Parish.
I've seen him going pretty late, in the 100 mark in keeper league drafts and things like that, which I think he's probably closer to the 75 to 80, I reckon.
He's pretty effective as a half forward too. So if he picks up forward status, I'm certainly not thinking that he will, but
there's a chance. He's done it before.
Surprised if he picks it back up.
Yeah.
And, he's someone that I'd be really bullish on.
Let's move on to the Fremantle Dockers. There was an injury scare for Jordan Clark, but he played in Origin, so I don't think we're worrying about that at all. Judd McVie said in an interview that he claims he'll play a rebounding role in defence at Fremantle. The thing is, I'm pretty sure he said that before at Melbourne too.
Yeah, he's kind of just saying it into existence, I think. He's a really good stopper.
Yeah.
And look, there might have been some promises that you can play a bit more transition football, but I think there's going to be a mix of the two. And when they need him to play a role, he's going to have to do that just as any other footballer will.
When I look at Fremantle's makeup of their list in their defence, like they were missing a good small stopper. Like the guy who plays on the small defenders and actually stops them, and they're playing Carl Warner, and I think Walker was another one that they were playing to try to play in that role, and he is so much better at that than they are. So that's the concern I have. So even though he's saying I'm playing a rebounding role and I will milk it for likes and contents online by putting up content about the quote that he said, I still do think that he is going to play, like you said, a mixture of a little bit of rebounding. But when you've got Clark in your side, you've got Luke Ryan in your side that can kind of play tall and small at the same, or distribute at the same time, I feel like he will probably still lock down a bit.
Yeah, good small defenders are so hard to come by as well.
Yeah.
So when you've got one, you may as well utilise them.
Correct. Luke Jackson was training as a midfielder, but Darcy's injured again. I feel like I'm kind of thinking maybe they're just building his tank, like to kind of run out games as the number one ruck a bit more. I think that's probably more my thinking with it. I just can't see a world where, like, if you're going to play Darcy on the side, why would you play Luke Jackson as a midfielder? Like, just play Luke Jackson as your number one ruck and let him play as an extra midfielder while he's in the ruck. You know what I mean?
I agree. But what I would say as well is if they're going to be throwing the ball up a lot faster, and Darcy's not exactly known as the quickest footballer, if they've got Luke Jackson in there as a midfielder, he can chop out and take that ruck contest when Darcy can't make it to the contest.
Kind of goes back to my point, though. What's the point of playing Darcy then? Just play Jackson.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a sunk cost at this point. They really needed to trade him. They'd put their foot in the ground and said, no, we're not getting rid of him. And now they're in this really awkward spot.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know what they do with him, and I feel like he's on a pretty good wicket, isn't he, as well? Like, so they're paying him a bit.
I don't know if the value is
100%
there anymore.
No, I agree. Yago Mira has been training in halfback and inside midfield roles throughout the preseason. He actually got picked for the WA side, which I thought was pretty crazy.
He looked all right too.
That's what I mean. Like, he's actually looking a bit fitter. So either of those two roles, halfback or inside mid, is going to be good for him. I just don't know if he's actually I know he's training in those roles, but I think he's still probably a break glass in case of emergency, someone gets injured or something like that, and then he goes in. What do you think?
Most likely, but a career resurgence would be nice from him. I know Fremantle are definitely thinking that they're in the window to compete.
Yeah.
So if he's in form, I think playing O'Meara is probably a good idea.
I guess the other thing is as well, like there's an extra
to the bow there.
There's an extra man on the bench these days as well. So like maybe he can be the extra guy that plays, and they've got an extra midfielder, or a guy can go halfback and give a bit of a chop out as well. So it might be free fall, but I just don't know if he gets enough volume to actually be fantasy relevant. Murphy Reed's getting some CBA action. I got blasted on Instagram by saying he'll still a stash for the future because he probably wouldn't break into the midfield, but apparently he's getting a bit of midfield time, so one to watch that move up.
Yeah, all part of his development.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Cats. Ollie Dempsey has been playing inside in match sim. You reading into that, or is he too much of a good outside player?
I would have thought so, right? He was an absolute gun on that wing the last couple of seasons. I think it's just a match sim thing.
Yeah.
Once again, something to add to the bow if they want to try something different in there.
If you're doing match sim, you've got to find 6 midfielders. You know what I mean? So, and then 2 rucks, obviously, as well. So, like, you've got to play guys like him in the middle, I think, if you haven't, those kind of sims.
Also, Chris Scott hasn't been coaching Geelong.
Is that right?
Yeah, no, he's taken leave. So, even though he was coaching last night in State of Origin, he hasn't been around the club.
See, I wasn't even sure if that was Brad. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's just something to look at. But like I said, it's such a luxury to play someone like Ollie Dempsey out in the ring, and I think they can I think they can afford to do it, especially because they brought Warple in as well. Like, I don't think they need to be throwing him into midfield. No. So I'm not reading into that. Just a few injury concerns. Toby Conway is injured again, so it looks like they're going to roll with Reece Stanley and Blitzarves again as they maybe De Koning as well.
He just can't get fit, can he?
Like he would solve so many of their issues if he could get fit, but Toby Conway is out again, and Jeremy Cameron didn't play in the Origin because that broken arm is still giving him his issues. But I know, what's your gut feel there? Do you think he's right for round 1?
Yeah, I think so. They just don't want to risk it.
Give him another month to get ready, and don't play him in the preseason.
Old bones.
Yeah, that's it. Let's move on to the Suns. Will Power in the midfield. So we did actually see this last night in Origin as well. I forgot to put that at the top of the show, but I'm not buying it. How does he get into that Gold Coast midfield?
Yeah, he's not getting into that midfield. It's going to be a very small rotation if it is.
I honestly think like it's more he's not in the best 23 anymore, so they're just trying to find something else for him to do. And maybe kind of develop his game in some other area to kind of either package him up or maybe trade him or something like that.
Yeah, well, it's awkward because Noble's come in, Rioli's come in. They've probably taken his spot down back as well. So he's in this no man's land where he's not going to get onto a wing because you've got Zeke there, and they're talking about Ethan Reid being on the other wing.
But then they've already got Closey, and they got Weller, who plays on the wing as well. Like they're stacked.
He might need to look like what we said on Andrew McGrath, where maybe he can turn himself into a really effective small defender.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's not going to be good for fantasy though. Bailey Humphrey has been used more forward in the match sims. Everyone wanted him to kind of move into the midfield this year, but I think Petrarca killed that. Don't you think? Petrarca has been used in the first midfield rotation there as well. So I think Bailey Humphrey's I think he can improve his scoring. Mm-hmm. But I think it's more that he might get to that 75-80 mark. More so than breaking out as a full-time midfielder.
Yeah, I think it'll be 50-50 with Track and Humphrey. So, Track probably more effective as a forward, I think.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Bailey Humphrey more in that midfield and, really sort of fast-track his development there, because when he's gone through it with bursts, he looks phenomenal. The
other thing is Touk Miller's been training as a half-forward as well, so there might be a three-way rotation thing going on there. Well, it looks like he's the one that's been kind of rotating with Track up forward, so I'm not sure what the whole dynamic of that midfield is going to be, but we'll probably get a better idea when we see it in action in a practice match this week. You mentioned before Ethan Reid being used on wing and ruck roles. He does look like the kind of guy who could play both of those roles.
TPP?
Yeah, that triple pair position player forward. Yeah, that's fine. Keep a watch on Ethan Reid. I think it'd just be good to see him out of a key forward position and see what else he can do. Kind of like Lachie a few years ago. Like you can stick him behind the ball a bit more or something like that. I think he could play one of those roles. Whether they do it or not is another story. And Daniel Rioli has been playing on the wing throughout the preseason because, again, he's another, like we just talked about wings just before, like he's another one in a bit of no man's land as well. Like I know they brought him in last season, but like Noble was the guy who kind of stepped up in that role a bit more than he did, and it looks like they're finding somewhere else for him to play. So
yeah, maybe. I'd like to see him forward of the footy anyway. I think he's really effective on that half forward line. And really good in front of goal as well. So
it's just, again, the fantasy scoring will suffer as a result. That's the issue. Onto the Giants, the Tom Green injury. Who do you think it helps most? Do you think Clayton Oliver now goes ham? Harry Ralston? Do you think Cornelio can get back into good form? What do you think?
Yeah, Oliver was the initial thought. I think Oliver's still got more to give. He was written off a little bit last season, and look, I kind of agree a little bit with that. He was probably a little bit underdone. I think this year he can really go bang, and as that main man in there, he's looking likely for me. But it's going to be spread amongst a couple of different players there. Roaston, they really highly rate. Cogs back in there, I would love to see. I still like Cogs. I think he
didn't look terrible last night. Like I know he didn't get a heap of it, but he still looked like better than he has the last kind of couple of seasons. But it's early days,
Yeah, I think it's a flawless preseason for him. Is something I was reading. So
yeah, I've heard this. I've heard similar whispers as well. I'm hoping he kind of slides late for a contending team for me, and I can pick him up. Has he got forward status? I don't know.
I don't think so. But there's a lot of young guns at the Giants who have been starved for a little bit of opportunity. So yeah, I'm expecting them to all sneak in there for a few rotations.
Yeah, we mentioned Clayton Oliver before. He did do a hammy, I think, a few weeks ago, but he's going to be right by the time. I think he's back. Calf, was it? But he's back now already. The other interesting one is Toby Green has been training as a midfielder, and they put out an article the other day saying he'll play midfield this season. So what do you think? That's a bit of preseason smoke and mirrors, or do you think there's merit to it?
I think it's just going to be the same of what we sort of see when there has been injuries at the Giants. Toby Green has plugged that hole in years gone by. He's pretty good as a midfielder, I feel, but he's so much more valuable as a forward. He's only getting older.
He probably still goes around that 80 mark, though, with that kind of split. So he's still probably going to be handy. Yeah. On to Hawthorn. In case you missed it, Will Day is injured again. He got traded. How's his trade? So Kay's owned him in our Keep League. He obviously got sick of waiting for Will Day to not be injured, so he traded him for Tim Taranto. I thought that was a good get. Will Day for Taranto.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so I think the guy who owns Taranto is very much rebuilding, so he's just A, wanted to go a younger player, and B, was more than happy to like slide down the ladder order by having so many injured players on his team.
Will Day is going to be in an interesting spot over the next couple of seasons. He's sort of looking like maybe his body's not going to hold up to that midfield role, so does he slide back into a defensive role?
Which would probably be better for his fantasy scoring, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. So he might be one that you can sort of buy low because people are a little bit down on him and his fitness. But potentially, I'm still a believer. I think he can really give something back in terms of fantasy scoring. Yeah.
Connor McDonald, there's been a lot of mixed messaging going on with Sam Mitchell now. I think he said he'll be playing midfield, then he came out saying he'll be playing forward this season, and he's come out again this week saying he's playing midfield. Would you be willing to take a punt on him, or do you think this is just like too much of a risk?
Oh, he's relevant in Classic, and it's driving me nuts, those quotes. I don't know what to read into them. I think he's going to be a forward, and they're just playing him as a midfielder in training because he is effective at it. But
yeah.
I don't know. I think they're still going to roll out with Nash, Newcombe, and Ward McKenzie.
Who's your gut feel the player that benefits the most from Will Day getting injured? Do you think it's McKenzie, McDonald? Like, what do you think? Who do you think goes into that midfield? Or do you think it's Ward?
I think Newcombe does a lot more.
Yeah, okay.
Personally.
Yeah.
Ward spent a lot of time in that midfield, more than what I thought. I think C-Mac's time is now. I think, they really highly rate him. And
is that McKenzie or McDonald, C-Mac?
Sorry.
I never know.
Cam McKenzie.
Yeah. Always get
Thanks for pulling me up on that. That's quite confusing.
No, I always get those two confused as well because they're very similar names.
But Connor McDonald's a super effective half forward, and we've seen it with Dylan Moore where he's gotten cracks into the midfield, but because he can play that high half forward connecting role so well, they just prefer to put him in that role. So I'm expecting a little bit more CBA action for Connor McDonald, but
thanks for clarifying.
it won't be as much as what we're sort of hoping for.
The Josh Weddle hype of early pre-season of him training as a midfield, that hype's died down a bit, hasn't it? Yeah. Too much of a Mr. Fix-It for him.
Yeah, I don't know where he sits in terms of keeper rankings. He's on one of my lists, and some weeks I want to.
He's around the 100 mark, I think, at the moment, which is kind of the way to go, I reckon, with him. Take him at the right price, but don't expect I can see him getting better, but I don't think a huge breakout.
If he falls into the right role, I think he's going to be a really nice option. But
I think he's been moved around so much.
Where that's going to be.
He'll be like Justin Westhoff, where like if you're having a shit week, they chuck him down back. If they can play him forward, and he might be like around the 80 mark most seasons, but may not have that huge ceiling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's move on to Melbourne. Jack Viney's been added to the long-term injury list, I think. He's got 2 issues or something. I can't remember what the go is with them, but
might have been a back.
Yeah, and then I think there's something else as well. Like there's 2 things on at the moment. So that's a bit of a blow for owners out there. You have to really decide what to do with him coming into your kind of keeper selection period. Caleb Windsor's been playing a lot of inside mid in the preseason. He actually got opportunities inside mid last year and didn't really do a lot, but I think they're kind of forced into giving guys like him opportunity with the departures.
Yeah, no one's left in that midfield at the moment. It's definitely going to be Jack Steele and the rest of the gang, I guess.
Yeah, a few of the younger kids as well. Langford probably the big one. Beneficiary of that as well. Xavier Lindsay looks like he's going to move back to his halfback role, which he played as a junior, which is where he put up those good numbers. So that's pretty encouraging for owners there. Christian Salem has had a hamstring complaint, but apparently no issues regarding fitness. He's just kind of taken it easy. What's your take on it? Christian Salem's a player, is always injured.
Yeah, he is always injured. I like Christian Salem, though. I think if he can stay fit, he's going to be one that's going to really benefit in that Melbourne team. I think he's a leader back there. And
especially with Bowie out for the first 6 months
exactly.
as well.
There's so many holes to plug. I can see him just getting about as a bit of a seagull, but yeah, the one caveat with that is they've sort of come out and they've said they want to play really quick, fast transition footy, and Christian Salem is sort of the antithesis of that. I think he's quite slow and sideways. So, yeah, that's a little bit of a flag.
Yeah, maybe. Trent Rivers looks like he's going to be full-time midfield this season as well. I didn't really notice him as much last night. I think he was okay. But, that's just one other thing to look at as well. Let's move on to North Melbourne. The George Wardlaw hamstring injury, if you heard about that, apparently it's not as bad as first feared, so he looks like he'll still be right for round 1. There'll be a few coaches sweating on that, so hopefully that's okay. Colby McKercher looks set to just continue that halfback role that he ended up in last season. I think they moved him around a bit last year, but he's apparently dominating pre-season training and all the ball movements going through him. So,
love to hear it.
Yeah, that's the one. There's a few other ones, like Cooper Harvey's been training at halfback. He starred in one of the intra clubs, apparently, but there still looks like they're persisting with Daniel at the moment, but there's a lot of noise that Daniel might not even be in the best 23. What are your takes on the whole halfback situation?
I was hearing that last season too. I think they wanted to save face a little bit, so they kept playing him in that role. I wouldn't be surprised if he's moved somewhere else. I don't think it'll be outside of the best 23. I think he can be effective still, but that half-back role, I just don't think he adds enough. And you do see opposition teams, they like to play through Caleb Daniel, because when it comes to him playing defensively. It's just so poor.
Yeah. Another one was Riley Hardiman as well. Has had some good intra-club performances as well. Kind of moving around the park, like, you know, just halfback, but kind of getting up the ground and doing some nice things as well. And he had one big performance last season that got a lot of people talking as well. So Riley Hardiman's another one I'd be adding to my.
Hardiman.
Yeah, same actually. And I think internally they're a big fan of him as well. Like, a lot of players talk him up. Let's move on to Port Adelaide. Will Brodie is going to play, according to Josh Carr. What are your thoughts there?
I think he will.
Yeah,
I think he's going to surprise a few. I understand the Wines suspension and not playing until I think round 3 is when he's back. I can see how there's a little bit of smoke in the water there, but you know, with that early fixture, he might just sort of lock down a spot in those first 2 rounds. And I think it's someone that we're screaming out for, a big-bodied mid that can get in there and distribute out to a Zach Butters or a Connor Rosie.
Like I do,
type.
I don't know. Like I feel like Ollie Wines should be that guy. I feel like Willem Drew can be that guy.
I like Wines as a forward. I think he's really effective as a forward.
The only thing with his forward craft is like he's a terrible shot at goal. That's anything. Yeah. But yeah, I think Josh Carr rates him, and I think he's got him over for a reason. I did hear whispers early on that he was only there for depth, but I think he's kind of impressed a bit more since he's actually come across. So, yeah, I think he's going to be one that will slide in drafts, and then you might get a decent midfielder for some parts of the season. Joe Berry has had a lot of highlights, but I'm not sure of his fantasy game, don't you think?
Yeah, I don't know where to put him.
Ideally,
he turns into a Dylan Moore.
That's what I mean. I'm getting Dylan Moore comparisons from people. So
yeah, look, I need to see this leap that they're sort of hyping him up for, because last season he was pretty unimpressive. And found himself back in the 2s. So I think I'll make a call based on how he performs this year.
I'd take him late, but I reckon some of the hype is going to drive him up draft boards. That's all.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. A friend of mine who works with an ex-Port Adelaide player who played alongside Josh Carr called Josh Carr. That friend called Josh Carr and specifically asked him who is the number 1 ruck at Port Adelaide, and he gave him the word that Dante Vicentini is currently ahead of Jordan Sweet.
I believe it.
Yeah. So look at the intra clubs and all that sort of stuff. Vicentini seems to be on the A team. A lot of that sort of stuff.
Did you watch the intra club?
No, I did not. No.
It's really good.
I coached my son's soccer team Friday 5:30. It's the worst time.
Yeah, that's a terrible time.
Yeah, so I miss everything. But so I've got that on. So I didn't see it, but. Yeah, from all reports, Vicentini is more that he's the more athletic ruck and he's the one coping with the rules a bit better. And Vicentini wasn't terrible last year. I think there's still a chance they play in tandem though as well.
Yeah, I think less so, just because who's going to ruck in the Magpies? We don't. Maybe it's a Harrison Ram, but
I don't think we make decisions. We don't make decisions ahead of like who's going to play for the Magpies. I don't think, but I do think there is a world where like we don't really need to. It just depends what you do with that 23rd list spot. Do you play another ruck or
We're very tall?
Yeah, that's the thing. So do we even need it? Even Ollie Wines was coming out, because remember Ollie Wines used to do ruck work like that, and like he was saying he's been practicing a bit of that as well, just in preparation. So I think there is a chance we do drop Sweet back to the 2s. Connor Rosie's going to play. He's too good for the podcast, but he's going to play that halfback role. I think Carl said we're going to play him halfback, but we've got the luxury of moving him into the midfield when we need to.
Rotating with Butters, potentially.
Yep. So, Butters to halfback. That'd be nice. We'll see how we go with that one. But, I think he's going to be fine. Miles Bergman looks like a lock for the midfield. I know there's been a quote where he said he'd play forward, and or he's been training forward and stuff like that, but I think he is the kind of perfect support to your Butters and those kind of guys. With, I think Jason Horne-Francis looks like he's going to miss a bit of time as well, so I think he starts
He'll
in
play
there.
a lot of forward,
Yeah. And we got Jason Horne-Francis next on the list. No certainty for round 1, and like you said, I can see. But the luxury of playing Horne-Francis close to goal is something that Port have, and I think they should use it more, especially if you can play someone like Bergman, who plays a similar role to Horne-Francis in the middle, really. So I think they should use that a little bit more. Todd Marshall was moving to defence, even taking some kick-ins, I think people saw. Were you at training and saw that? Oh, was that Geordie?
No, that was Geordie.
Yeah.
He sent me plenty of videos, though, so it's definitely real. I think it's... I'm not sure he's going to play round 1 in that role. I think he would be better served to just developing a little bit in the sandful.
Have a go at it.
Yeah, well, we've got the tolls that can sort of play that role already.
Whitlock, we got Jack Whitlock? I can't remember which Whitlock we've got. But
yes, I think it's
Jack. But he's apparently starring pre-season as well, so we do have the luxury of playing him. He'll probably play ahead of Lord. And then Todd Marshall could go back if we need to put him there as well. if Marshall does go back, though, I don't think it's going to be fantasy relevant, that's all. Jackson Mead's been training. Speaking of not fantasy relevant, Jackson Mead, he's been training as a defender. Actually played there the end of last season and was no good as a fantasy scorer there. So not getting excited about that one. Moving on to Richmond, Dion Prestia. He's someone that you could have got late in drafts, but he suffered another hamstring. But we'll miss the preseason, but we'll write one. He's still someone who's good for an 80, you know, like as your last midfielder. So probably worth picking up for those contending teams. I didn't know this, but Sam Banks apparently has been dealing with foot stress fracture.
That's news to me.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if I've actually got that right, but I just read that the other day. So yeah, that's just something to think about there.
Those are ones that linger as well.
Yeah. So that's a bit. That's a bit of a concern if that's correct. Sam Cumming is the draftee that's been talked up a lot by senior players this preseason. Likely to start in the midfield. Do you know much about Sam Cumming?
Nah, but I like Cumming.
Yeah, Matty DeSena has been raving about him, and so like he wouldn't even be on my radar if like Matty knows his stuff with rookies as well. So like he's kind of starting to climb up the boards for me. And I did see a highlight of him last night. I think I was sent it, and he just gets around like 4 players through the midfield, weaves from like carves from like butter type thing, through a hot knife. And so yeah, one to think about. And then Lawler, have you seen the Lawler footage?
No.
Oh, just him absolutely carving up from the centre bounces at Richmond. Thing is, like at Richmond, like it's probably easy to carve up there, but like you get the shades of Dusty Martin. They've given him the number 4, so I think he's one that could be. I think he could be in for a bit of an increase in his fantasy numbers. That's all.
Yeah, well, they've likened him to Dusty. They've given him the number. He's going to play some forward time as well because he's super effective there. But definitely going to be fantasy relevant for us.
Yeah, I think so too. And the Grill, Sam Grill, the Sizzler, I think they call him, he's impressed off halfback, so he's pushing for a round 1 debut, so another one to look at. I think Smiley is nearing a full return to training. He's one that a lot of people had a lot of hype on last preseason for the draft and that sort of stuff, but yeah, injury concerns have kept him out. But I think for someone like Smiley, it's probably just a year that he will just debut and kind of earn his spot, and then probably the year after we probably look at him as a fantasy option. Maybe the year after that.
Big boy, 196 centimetres.
Looks like he's going to be a bit of a gun as well, but we just might have to be patient with him. On to the Saints. Tom De Koning's been tearing up preseason and looks to have the number 1 mantle, I think. But we'll share ruck duties. What do you think like the split's going to be between Marshall and De Koning?
70-30.
Yeah.
I don't think Tom De Koning's that effective as a forward. Marshall, when he goes forward, seemed to get on the end of a couple. So, they're definitely going to be playing dual rucks, but Marshall might find himself as the guy that gets moved around the most just to plug some holes.
I just going back to Richmond, I did just Google the Sam Banks injury. Apparently he's had the stress fracture, but he's returned to training. So that's good news for owners there. But they've kept that one pretty quiet. So on to Mateus Philippou. I think all the reports he's going to have that forward midfield role. He's one that you think will be a fantasy player if he can stay fit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really bullish on him. If as long as he can stay fit, I think he's someone that can really push north of 90 pretty consistently for his career.
The other one they're talking about, Max Hall, has been in a bit of a rotation, I think, with him as well. And he had a couple good games, I think one especially in the midfield last year, which he played all right. So he's another one I would see or expect to see him use a bit more in there. A lot of people see Mason Wood as a forward and think of him as an option, but apparently he's been injured all of pre-season and looks pretty unlikely to be playing too much early. So
yeah, he might struggle to get back into that side even. They've added a lot of depth there and recruited over the off-season. So, yeah, it might be Mason Wood father time.
And then Jack Carroll, like I keep bringing him up each year because he was a good junior fantasy scorer and a good VFL scorer at one point. But he's been lining up at halfback all pre-season. There probably is a spot if they're going to play Nazaya in the midfield all season, but I just don't know if Jack Carroll's that guy to take it.
Doesn't excite me at all.
Nah, neither. On to the Swans. Callum Mills is going to continue that half-back role. He's had some of his pre-season footage looked awesome. So
he looks really nice.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the first one in a while he hasn't been injured, right? So hasn't done any trampoline shoulder issues. Is that the case? Or something like that?
I think it was the foot maybe that was really giving him some problems for a couple of years there.
Yeah.
I'm really liking Callum Mills. I think he'll still be quite an accountable player. I don't expect him to be, floating across half back, getting cheapies. He's going to be a lot more impactful than that. But I'm hoping he can stay fit because he is an absolute gun of a player.
Just looking at it, he actually averaged 90 last season. I did not. That came out of nowhere for me.
Yeah, well,
because he only played from round 11 onwards, but put up some bloody good scores. So a lot of people want him to go in the midfield and be a gun, but I think even as a halfbacker, he's going to be fine. I think it probably just kills someone like Matty Roberts or those kind of players, and especially because there's a few like younger players that we'll talk about. Because like Ned Bowman, like I'd never heard of him, but apparently he's really impressing like across halfback at the moment. So he's one. And Harry Kyle was a draftee who was like with a rugby background, and he's got that kind of like just evasiveness about him. Like he break lines off halfback, and like a lot of people are saying like they could see him in the midfield one day because he's just this thick rugby kind of dude. But he's very fast and like he loves the link up play because the rugby how they kind of like pass sideways and get up. Like he's kind of like got that, brings that into the footy as well. So you could get a few extra possessions kind of that way. So Harry Kyle's another one that a lot of people are raving at as a draftee. And yeah, a lot of news coming out lately about this Jesse Totoli. I've heard him mentioned multiple times. I was having beer with Aaron Bryans yesterday and he even brought him up as one to watch through the preseason as well. But he's kind of that medium forward, which I don't love for fantasy. That's the only thing.
Yeah, it's a super tough position to play, so I'm not expecting it to be too conducive of fantasy points there. It might be, as we've said a couple of times on this podcast, more impact over.
Yeah. I think he did have good junior numbers though. There was always someone last year in the mock draft simulator that kept taking him super early, and it was so annoying. It kept stuffing up the ADP, so I had to keep like manually adjusting it. But anyway, they've gone away thankfully. On the West Coast Eagles, Tom McCarthy, he looks set to play midfield this season. You haven't heard anything otherwise, right?
No. Apparently he's just tearing it up.
Yeah. So he's one I'm really excited. And he's actually might be in a lot of drafts. If you don't do mid-season drafts, he might be like, would you take him ahead of like a Willem Dersma or maybe even a Dyson Sharp? I probably would.
Yeah, I think I would.
Yeah, same. Like I'd maybe Arnable, maybe Yuland I might take ahead of him, but from there it's probably Tom McCarthy, top 3, I'd say.
How old is he?
24, I think it is.
24, so still,
he's still plenty of time.
Still quite young.
Yeah. Elijah Hewitt was starring apparently, but he got injured. I can't remember what it was, but I just saw footage of him punching a wall because he was so upset. So, and he didn't play the match sim last week as well. So I don't think that's encouraging, but I think he's going to be a star of the future, Elijah Hewitt. So he's someone I'd still be investing in, especially if I was rebuilding. Right. Yeah. And Cooper Duff Tyler, I think, kicked 3 goals in the match sim last week, so he looks likely to
5.
debut. 5 was it? No, sorry, it was 3 at the time. I wrote that. He must have got a few extra later. Yeah,
all before halftime.
Yeah, nice. And then Jacob Newton is another name that I'd never heard of, but apparently he started playing in the mid in one of the early match sims, so he's listed as a forward. So maybe just wanted to take a late flyer on. Willem Dersma, I think he's been playing on the wing a little bit in the match sims, so that scares me a little bit.
Yeah, he's more of a utility type. He's very skinny.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where he's going to land in as an AFL player.
Yeah.
They're sort of saying he's going to be a midfielder. I believe it, but I'm just not sure. The juxtaposition of sort of the hype Harley Reid got as a pick 1 compared to Will Dersma is so far apart.
Yeah,
I'd like to see a little bit more Dersma fluff, to be honest.
I think the draft overall it's probably just a good gauge of like, and this is the other thing I've been saying to a few people lately, like I've seen so many people rank their top draftees for fantasy, right? And everyone has a different number 1. Like but the funny part is everyone has Yuland too.
Yeah, so you're saying this to me.
Yeah. So it's like I think Yuland is probably the best one out of all of them, really.
Yeah.
So,
what did I think I said to you? First the worst, second the best.
Yeah, second's best. Yeah, that's right. So I don't know. Maybe Yuland's the one to go, but you're right. There does seem to be some people are really hot on Dersma, or some people are just really off him, and I'm probably somewhere in between.
It's too much murkiness for me to really want to go there. I'm happy for somebody else to take that pick. But if you're at pick 4 or 5 and he's on the board, he's probably a tough one to pass up.
Yeah, I think 4 or 5 is probably a good if you're just drafting draftees, I guess. Josh Lindsay as well. Like apparently his elite kicking was on show in the match sim as well, and it was pretty impressive. So he's another one I'm high on because I think he just gets to the half. Like it's just because his kick's so good. I think he's the halfback distributor guy that everything just goes through. I think I have touted him as maybe the Harry Sheezel of this year's draft, but
wow,
but probably like lesser quality because the draft isn't as good. You know what I mean? Yep. So but I think he does come in more so just comes in, plays halfback and plays a good fantasy role straight up more so than anything. I don't know if the score's going to be huge, but like I could see him putting up a few nice ones here and there.
Is he a big accumulator?
That's the thing. He's not really like not in juniors, but like I don't know if it's hard to tell because of the system to play. And if you watch his highlights, though, he looks pretty special. So, and that kick, and you just know he would take kick-ins as
Left
well.
footer?
So, yeah. Yep. A likened to Jordan Clark a lot. So
okay.
I reckon he'll be a similar type player, maybe like a 95 kind of guy eventually, but I'm very keen on him. And then Elliot Yeo's been basically back full training, although he only joined the match sims in late January. So I think they've just been keeping him on ice a little bit, but apparently he's done all the workload, so that's encouraging.
Playing as a midfielder, is he?
I think so. I think he played yesterday. I didn't watch the match sim, so I'm not sure, but I have to check out Warney's write-up that he put out yesterday. And then Bo Allen's been training on a wing, but I have no interest in Bo Allen. Do you?
No, I don't know what to put him as, really.
No, I think he has some good underage numbers, but yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen enough yet.
Yeah, I'd like to make a call based on this year.
The fact that he didn't feature a lot last year in his first season, that worries me a little bit, because given how bad West Coast were, and I think he only played the one game. And then on to the last team, Western Bulldogs. Adam Treloar's done the hamstring. Geordie was mad at me because I didn't have him in my top 100 keeper league ranks. He was just really high on Treloar, but this is the exact reason why I didn't have him in there, because, yeah, he's just too injury prone. And I think him and probably Tom Liberatore as well, like, he's got a quad injury at the moment. I feel like they'll move past these guys at some stage this season. Like, I was scarred last year because, like, I brought in Doc late in the season for the retirement game.
Yes.
And it happened in like round 18. So like I was hoping it'd be grand final week. And I'm just worried like something like this will happen with either Treloar or Liberatore as well, that they might not make the full season, get injured, something like that.
I think you're right. They'll start there and then...
Yeah, well, I don't even know if they'll start because of the injuries. But, yeah. And actually, Liberatore stood down as vice captain as well. So, like, could be the end for players like this. And then they trolled him at half back as well.
That's not going to work.
Exactly. Like, that's the thing. So I feel like they want to move past him and they're giving him one last shot to like do something else, but I don't think it's going to work.
He's not very versatile.
Apparently Riley Sanders is struggling with a hamstring injury, so another injury interrupted pre-season for him. I'm starting to write this guy off. Yeah, I think so. Like, I think he just needs to move clubs. Like, that's probably...
That's what I'm thinking as well.
Yeah.
But I think he's a really good buy low candidate.
Yeah,
I
that's fair.
think a lot of owners are probably getting a little bit tired of him.
Yeah.
So maybe you can float an offer their way and get him on the cheap. And
Yeah, don't mind that.
He'll go off to Tasmania, I presume. The Crows are also rumoured.
Crows are looking for him, yeah.
They're screaming out for a midfielder.
Yeah. So that's another one that's might be one to think about there. Lachie Carmichael, he's a draftee, but he was looking likely to start early on a halfback kind of role, but they were even giving him CBA time in some of their intra-club matches. But yeah, has a syndesmosis. He was in a moon boot, I think, the last time I saw him, so he probably won't feature for a while, which is unfortunate. It's probably good for someone like Connor Butterick, though. Looks likely to step into that halfback role at the Dogs, and he's listed as a forward as well, because can't really see a lot of other people, playing that role. What do you think? Butterick's got some upside?
Yeah, kind of.
Just because he's listed as a forward, right?
Yeah, pretty much. But he's a really good small defender.
You're right.
As well, and I think he's better suited to that role. There's a few ball users back there that I think you'd rather have the ball in their hands of. I know
he is a good kick though as well.
Beaters,
like, that's the thing.
Lachie Bramble and stuff.
Yeah.
But I just find that, like I said earlier, having that small defender who's effective is so valuable.
I look at the Dogs though, like I'd rather, because I think Bramble's quite a good small defender, like better. I think Butterick's got a better disposal than someone like Bramble, and so you're probably better off using him as that outlet. But you're right, he is effective in those roles as well. But like again, like they moved him forward last year. That's why he's got forward status. So they can't value him that much even at Gold Coast too. So I don't really know. The other one, Lachie Jakes. I think he signed a 2-year deal today as well. But or Jacques or however you say it.
I'll struggle with this though.
Yeah. But yeah, I just keep hearing whispers that he's looking good this preseason. Don't know if he plays round 1, but I reckon he'll get a debut this year and maybe one to stash for the future.
Yep.
I think as well. All right, pretty jam-packed episode there with club news. We'll quickly get through some listener questions. I only got 3 this week, which is kind of handy because the episode's gone forever. Scott Warwick wants to know, now that Tom Green is injured, where do you place him in the top 100 for a new keeper league? And does this affect any other of the GWS players' rankings on your list? I did some rankings, and I will update my rankings by the start of next week. I think it will be, or the end of this week. I have moved him down. He was about around the 20 mark, and I moved him down to about the 30, 32 mark there. But Clayton Oliver probably comes up a little bit for mine at the moment, and I just want to see them in action to see what it looks like. Like Ralston, if you're a rebuilding team, I think comes up the ranks a little bit. But yeah, what are your thoughts? Anyone else there you should be keeping an eye on? Canelio?
Yeah, Yeah, I'm not too sure at this point. I'd like to see the line up in the practice game just to see who's in and around the mark because
even someone like O'Halloran could go into the midfield.
Yeah, the opportunity's there. Even Brent Daniels.
That's a good one, actually. Yeah, probably should have mentioned that one on the top. So he did kind of play us. I think he's too effective. Like he's better in a forward mid role to go in there full time. But like he's someone who's kind of he was someone I was writing off, and now I'm thinking maybe they will be using there a lot more to kind of cover. So that's not a bad shout, that one. Can any argument, this is from Butters, can any argument for value be made for the following players as late round flyers? They're buried deep in ADPs and unlikely to be on coaches' radars. The Sam Butler, making the view, the flag here is there, he takes Connor McDonald's midfield time if he goes into the midfield.
Yeah, potentially. I think it's a bit of last chance saloon for Sam Butler. So if he takes it with both hands, I can see a little bit of upside there, but I would still be worried that he's not going to be in that best 23.
He's not on my radar at all, Sam Butler, truth be told. Ryan Angwin's the next one on the list. He's kind of on my radar. I think he will play wing, I think, this season. I don't know whether he's going to be a huge ceiling type player, but could be a handy 70. He's listed as a mid only, that's the thing. It's not that valuable.
He'll be around the mark.
Yeah. Luke Nankervis, what do you think?
I'm not overly enthused about him.
Yeah. I reckon we'll see him feature a lot more this season, though.
Yeah.
And the opportunity to be given to him to score. So we'll have to wait and see if that can happen. He has been like a 70, like he's put up like 70s and stuff like that. I think there was a game in Tassie against North a couple of years ago that he played right in on a halfback flank. So let's see what happens there if he can overtake someone. Harvey Thomas played a little bit on the wing last season, late in the season.
I like that one.
Yeah,
I think that's a good shout.
Is he listed as a forward as well? I can never remember.
I'm not too sure.
There's like three of these like GWS players that are all the same guy to me, like Joe Fonte, Ryan Angwin, Angove. Yeah. They're all the same to me. So yeah,
that's why I'm interested in this mid mix because I wouldn't be surprised if one of those comes, into that mid mix all of a sudden, starts to get some minutes, shows something, and then you've got a little bit of a bargain pick there. Yeah,
and Jacob Ware, not a lot's been spoken about him. Do you think he's got a wing role at Port Adelaide?
I think he does.
Yeah, okay. It feels like
Port
weird.
Didn't really have a wing.
The other one is like Logan Evans, like has been training a lot more on the wing, and it looks like Burgoyne's been sent back again, which is probably going to be good for Burgoyne owners. But bit of competition
Drew
there.
Could be on the wing.
Drew often starts on the wing a lot, and like he rolls into a midfield inside role from the wing as well. So. But I think Jacob Ware's probably worth just a late pick. I just wouldn't be expecting huge, but you'd rather have a player, especially if you're contending, the player that actually plays most weeks or gets a game every now and then than someone who doesn't. So it's probably a good way to look at it. And then Geordie wants to know bounce back or free fall for these players. Canelio, bounce back or free fall?
Bounce back.
Okay. Somewhere in between, I reckon. Ridley, bounce back or free fall?
Bounce back.
Yeah, I reckon bounce back. Josh Kelly, bounce back or free fall?
I think he's in free fall.
I think he's a bounce back once he comes back from injury. But because he's so lowly rated at the moment.
Yeah,
and he's only 30, isn't he?
He's still sitting there in my draft.
He's only 30, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm not too sure on the age. He'd be around that mark.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a star. So when he's fit, he's going to score. But
do you think his body's cooked?
I think his body's starting to look like it might be cooked.
Tim Kelly, bounce back or free fall?
Oh, this one's tough read.
I'm free fall.
Yeah, I'll probably lean more towards free fall. I don't think the attitude's right. Yeah, I don't think his head's in it.
They gain nothing by, like, they should develop the kids more than go for someone like him. Yeah. Jesse Hogan, bounce back or free fall?
Bounce back.
Agree. Bounce back, especially after last night. Brent Daniels, bounce back or free fall?
Yeah, I think because the opportunity is there's a bounce back for him. He was very interrupted by injury last year.
I agree. Anyways, we will wrap it up there. Louis, where can people find you?
Get around us on PodPod AFL. We're on all the socials and obviously the podcast. So, give that a listen. We're really ramping up with the preseason now. And we've got Maria's Magic on board this year as our sponsor, so shout out to them. Selby puts out, and Holmesy and all the guys involved there put out some elite statistics and all of that sort of stuff. So, exciting times ahead. It is a good resource. I do use it for a lot of my work and research as well, so definitely get around that. Also get around our stuff on all the socials at Keeper League Pod on Facebook, Instagram,
X, YouTube, TikTok. Pretty much everywhere you'll find us there. Make sure if you want to support the podcast and help me with the day-to-day operations of all this sort of stuff, make sure you sign up as a member. There is a link in the description below. Get around our sponsors, Keeper. They make a excellent fantasy draft platform that caters to the keeper leagues, and most of the leagues I know actually use it. So it's a decent app. And then we've also got a Discord group. We do have a Facebook group for gold members, but like I'm more active on the Discord. I hate Facebook. I hate I
don't use Facebook.
Yeah. So like it is there, and sometimes I am in there doing things. But if you want to interact more with me and the other kind of diehard listeners of the show, get on the Discord, because there's just always some conversation going on in there when the Facebook group kind of falls on deaf ears a little bit, I think, as well. So anyways, that's it from me. Thanks for joining us this week, Louis.
Thanks for having me.
No, anytime. And we'll talk to the rest of you next week. See ya.